Number 1. I was walking home from the bus that dropped kids off after drama or sports at the nearby elementary school. This was 7th grade, and I was listening to the live recording of Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult on my MP3 player. So my neighbourhood is quiet, mostly filled with retired folk, and we all have large yards. I walked that road home many times, and my house was right in sight when this occurred. A green Subaru Outback stopped next to me, and I almost didn't notice until the door flew open and a slightly obese woman sprung out from the car. She latched onto my arm and tried her best to yank me into the car with her. To her dismay, I was a ranked martial artist and kicked that bimbo in the face. When she let go, I bolted in the opposite direction of my house. I didn't want her to know where I lived. No one was home at my house, and I knew that. I took out my cell phone, but it was one of those old dingy track phones and was dead. So I spent the next half hour or so ducking behind houses and making my way around the other way back to my house. The car would occasionally drive by slowly, looking for me. Needless to say, I can't really listen to that song anymore. Number 2. This happened years ago, probably around 1999 or so when I was about 17. My parents' house has a front door with living room immediately to the right, with a large window that looks right into the kitchen, straight ahead when you enter the front door. We used to leave the shutters open for that living room window and you'd be able to see in or out. One night around 11:30 PM or so, I was in the fully lit kitchen with a towel wrapped around my head, completely irrelevant but for some reason I'll never forget it, while drinking a juice box. I started wandering around aimlessly and entered the living room. I stood there for a bit, kind of staring into space, when I realised that there was a man standing in front of my window, looking at me. I have no idea how long he was out there, but the first thing that entered my mind was, wow, this is so embarrassing. I'm wearing a towel on my head and drinking a juice box. Generally, if you're in your home and a dude is on your lawn staring at you, you should be more concerned about other things, i.e. your safety. Anyway, I awkwardly walked back into the kitchen not knowing what to do, when I heard the softest knocks on my front door. At that point I freaked out, which should have already been my initial reaction, and went to my parents' room to wake up my dad. I eventually got him up, after hearing another set of soft, quiet knocks. And while he was getting his bearings straight, I crept back into the living room and knelt down on the floor to peek out the window and see if the guy was still there. What I actually saw was him across the street and down a bit, getting tackled by a few cops. One of them had a gun out. I don't know what the guy wanted other than A, a hiding place, or B, to do something horrible to me, but what weirded me out the most was that if he was seemingly being chased by the cops, why was he just standing on the lawn staring at me instead of continuing to run? Number 3. This happened about 2 weeks ago while I was walking home from my building to my aunt's at work. The city I'm in is a medium-sized one, and I don't have a very long walk to our building, but it's still a good 2 blocks away. A bit of background on myself first. I'm a transgender guy, female to male, who passes rather well for someone who's not on hormones. However, due to not being out to my family, I often wear women's jackets and neutral clothing, which can be a bit confusing for some people. That day I had chosen to wear a purple jacket and matching hat, and from a distance I could be mistaken for a female since the hood was up. Back to the creepy part now. I was walking alone, like usual, when I heard footsteps racing up toward me from behind, which is unusual. There really wasn't anyone else walking outside at this hour, but naive me thought someone was late to class since my work is part of a college campus. I shrug it off until I feel someone grab my shoulder and turn me around. A very large man was there, and there was a truck nearby. He seemed surprised to see me though, and immediately let go once he got a good look at my face. He ran to his truck and someone drove him away, and I ran the rest of the way to my aunt's office. Later that evening, the same man was on the news for an attempted abduction of a young girl in the area. just a few blocks away from where he grabbed me. Number 4. I was driving home from a big city near my little town late at night after a day there with this dude on our first date sometime in March of 2012. My date was asleep and the seat was reclined really low. We got into town at around 1 AM and I noticed this guy standing on the corner when I was about to stop at a red light. He looked like he was probably on something. He was just talking to himself and pacing. I was a little nervous, but whatever. I'm a little too quick to judge people sometimes. So I stopped and we accidentally made eye contact. At least I accidentally did. I could tell he was yelling at me because I kept hearing bitch and some other, things as I was stopped at the longest red light ever, as the guy I was with was sleeping cozily in the passenger seat, really reclined. After about 10 seconds of the guy cussing me out, he hopped over to my car and swings the passenger door open, reaching for me. I started screaming bloody murder, and the guy I was on a date with woke up suddenly and started smacking the guy. I think it started as reflexes. The crazy guy's yelling, "Fuck man, didn't see you, fuck, oh fuck, I didn't see you, this bitch," etc. And my date punches him out the door as I zoom off, running the red light. He closed the door and yelled, "Who the fuck, what the fuck was..." I'm hyperventilating, and then I started half laughing, half crying because my nerves were shot. We got some ice cream at 1 AM, then I took him home, and went home by myself. We laughed about it, but I don't like to think what would have happened if he hadn't been there. That dude that was sleeping in my car on the first date married me 3 weeks ago. You bet your goddamn bottom dollar we told the story of our first date. Well, weren't those stories just terrifying? I'm shaking in my booties. If you have your own scary story, why not send me an email with the story attached and I'll be sure to narrate it in the near future. Anyway guys, thanks for listening and goodbye.